Today she becomes my wife since you can't pay me.
In the days when kings ruled with both crown and fear, there lived a powerful king whose authority stretched far beyond his palace walls. His wealth was measured not only in gold and land, but in how deeply people feared disappointing him. Among the many families under his rule was one that had fallen into serious debt. During a season of hunger and hardship, they had borrowed from the king, believing they would repay quickly. But seasons passed, interest grew, and what was once manageable became impossible. When the king finally came to collect what he was owed, the family had nothing left. No land. No livestock. No silver. Desperation pushed them into a decision that would cost generations. They offered their daughter in place of the debt. She was young, strikingly beautiful, and completely voiceless in the matter. She was taken into the palace, not as a wife of love, but as a sister wife, added quietly among many women. Her presence meant to settle accounts, not to build a future. Her name was Zainab. Zainab entered the palace with fear in her heart and silence on her lips. Though she lived in fine surroundings, she was never truly accepted. The senior wives reminded her, sometimes openly and sometimes subtly, that she was bought, not chosen. Every smile carried mockery, every instruction carried power. When Zainab gave birth to a son, the palace celebrated briefly. Drums were beaten, praises were sung, and then life returned to normal. But that joy never lasted. She never bore another child for the king. That boy became her only child, her only proof that she had existed in the palace, and her only wound. His name was Sadiq. As Sadiq grew, it became clear that he belonged everywhere and nowhere at the same time. He lived in the palace, but he had no place in it. He had no siblings from his mother to protect him, no strong voice to speak for him. And then, when he was still very young, his mother made a decision that shocked everyone. She left the palace and returned to her family. Later, she remarried, choosing a chance at peace over a life of quiet humiliation. Sadiq was left behind. From that day, the palace became a battlefield without blood. He became the child everyone could command. One wife sent him to fetch water. Another sent him to the market. Another ordered him to clean, to cook, to run errands meant for servants. When food was prepared, he waited until everyone had eaten. When clothes were shed, he washed. Sometimes he ate leftovers. Sometimes he survived on crumbs. Sometimes he slept hungry. Yet Sadiq did not cry loudly. He learned early that noise attracted punishment. Instead, he became quiet, observant, careful. To survive, he began hawking bananas in the morning, bread in the afternoon, groundnuts in the evening. Each wife gave him goods to sell, and whatever little change remained, he hid carefully. That was how he paid school fees. That was how he bought books. Sadiq was intelligent. Teachers noticed him. Learning became his escape. While other children returned home to warm meals and laughter, Sadiq studied under the moonlight, promising himself that his life would not end in service and silence. When he was old enough, he left the palace and went to the city. The city did not embrace him. It tested him. He hawked clothes, carried heavy loads, slept hungry, and walked long distances to save transport fare. But he survived. Slowly, painfully, he climbed. Years later, Sadiq became what no one expected, a civil servant. For the first time, stability entered his life. With stability came confidence. With confidence came pride. He married a woman named Aisha. She was gentle, hardworking, and patient. Together, they had 2 children. For the first time in his life, Sadiq had a family that truly belonged to him. A home where no one gave him crumbs. A place where he was called husband and father. But childhood wounds do not disappear simply because life improves. They wait. Sadiq's mother's family, the same people who had given her away to settle debt, returned. They wanted reconciliation. They wanted connection. They wanted access. Sadiq welcomed them, believing forgiveness would heal everything. Slowly, their presence brought pressure, old beliefs, and subtle control into his home. Then Sadiq made a mistake that changed everything. He left his wife and traveled alone, chasing ambition again. Aisha, confused and hurt, returned to her village with the children. Sadiq tried to see them later, but she refused. She had learned from pain. History was repeating itself, but Sadiq did not recognize the pattern. Life humbled him again. He returned, apologized, and begged. Aisha forgave him, not because he deserved it, but because forgiveness was the only wealth she had left. They moved to a different city and tried again. Things improved. But instead of gratitude, entitlement grew. Sadiq began cheating on his wife. When confronted, he defended himself with tradition. He said that in his family, men do not marry only one wife. The same logic that destroyed his mother's peace. The same pattern he swore he would never repeat. He married another woman. From that moment, peace left the home. Love faded. Respect died quietly. The children changed. The home became heavy. Money disappeared. Health declined. The wives turned into rivals. Sadiq found himself surrounded by people, yet completely alone. One night, sick and abandoned, he remembered the palace. The crumbs. The rejection. The silence. And the question finally came, sharp and unforgiving, why didn't I choose a different route? Why didn't I learn from what happened to my parents? Why did I repeat the very pain that shaped me? Regret came too late. Sadiq died a lonely man, not because life was unfair, but because he ignored every lesson life tried to teach him. And that is how a man who survived hardship failed at wisdom.